How can the acknowledgement of life force as a reality rather than a hypothesis be embedded in our lives?
I want to know what it is, where it comes from, why does it exist, right?
Mm,
I've
mm.
answered a lot of those questions, but there are not many people you can have the conversation with.
Welcome to the Frequency Files. Thanks for joining us as we explore the vibrations, forms, and creations and mechanisms behind them that inform the nature of existence. We've talked about these teachers in the inner worlds. What's the role with sacred text and symbology? And in more modern times, things like sci-fi concepts that are used to convey certain themes spiritually.
Science fiction is the ability to tell the truth without any kind of suicide happening on you. It's uh, I tell people I started reading science fiction in 1959. I was 10 years old. So I was at the beginning of, they had these little books, analog, and there were three or four of them. And you would get them every month, and they were like 10 cents or 25 cents a book or something. And it's imagination. It's a imagination coming into creation. And
Mm.
and so they have all this alien and ET stuff. That is so old. They're old themes. It's kind
Yeah.
of it's like watching Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie. That's an old theme.
Okay.
One of the things that happened is Isaac Asimov wrote the Foundation series. And you know who's a proponent and who's following that as a blueprint right now? Some guy named Elon Musk. And he said it. He said, I'm following that. Now, the Foundation series laid out the progression of society and humanity and science and all these different things. And and it has, you think about, he wrote this in 1946. It's like he was reading some book that might have been written today and going back and or reading it and then coming back and writing it back then because we are following that trajectory. And and whoever produced a movie for Apple, they did a series on it. And all those people should be find other employment. It's a horrible adaptation of it and does nothing to explain the trajectory of society, and it's fallen apart. I think we're maybe entering that phase because it becomes too complicated. And then they talk about, well, out of that comes different kinds of thought. And so we have scientific thought that came to the forefront with the atomic bomb in 1946 and all that other stuff, right? And so that was our science technological world. And Asimov described its progression. And then the great thing he did was describe the other side. He described that there would be a group of people that weren't scientists in the physical world, but people who studied humans and thought and consciousness and actually worked to develop the skills of intuition and healing and all these things. And he set those in conflict with each other. And as two different worlds, he called them two different foundations. And guess where we are today? We're in that conflict between science and technical, the Elon Musk and all that kind of stuff, um, the AI, all that was in those books. And then on the other side, people are ignoring that there was this tremendous world that developed that was using, he called it psychology, okay? But PSI would be a better language. or psi techniques and stuff. And so you have people that are divergent, that are developing those skills because I did, and and those become the greater source of direction and should, because they appear to be a little more humane than scientists, my opinions. Again, so so that was the beginning, and then of course there's dozens of authors that come along. Gordon R. Dixon, Robert Einlein, and you look at those and the worlds they're proposing is they're just extending what they're seeing in the world into a society and seeing what that looks like and seeing how people would act. And and if anybody wants to know where the world's headed, read Childhood's End. That's the name of the book. And I think it's written in 53 or something. And once you read it, you'll understand autism. You'll understand ET. You'll understand the all of the science and everything that goes along with those. All right. And so that's the course of humanity for the next 10 or 20 or 100,000 years. Both those books, Foundation Series and Childhood's End. So if you read those, then you're going to be pretty comfortable with anything, all the world and what all craziness they got going on, because that's just humanity doing this chaos. So are we having fun?
Like, do I want you to tell us and bit the spoiler, or I mean, are there infinite possibilities? Will there be different types of worlds living side by side?
No, there's a little thing called entropy, and we can get into a big argument about that at some time, about whether it exists, but the idea is that the more technical things become, the less we're able to reproduce it. Okay. So I give an example. We created a rocket to go to the moon, and we don't have that technology anymore. It's gone. The plans for those rockets and the people that built it and the education required to develop it and the resource, it's just gone. So we had a path that didn't go anywhere, right? Probably didn't go to the moon, but that's my my opinion. But the idea is that like German manufacturers like BMW, the tolerances on their engines are so great, and they backed off of it, and they keep backing off of it to the point we won't be able to reproduce them anymore because we don't have the technology that we had then. So technology is kind of like falling off a cliff in a whole lot of different areas. And at the same time, we're just mesmerized by film and music and whatever else is going on. And that's Foundation Series. And then on the other side, people are now like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I was teaching yoga, and they wanted to run you out of town if you were doing that because it's, illegal or something. And of course, through yoga, we start understanding more about ourselves. They call it yoga, the union of self. And so we look at that and go, well, I think it'd be a good thing to develop more knowledge about myself. Well, that's second foundation. And then how I interact with people, second foundation, the one that's the human consciousness is what they focus on, not scientific endeavor. They're different mindsets. One's the intellect and one's the consciousness. Okay. David Hawkins lays it out where that Power versus Force book, where 500 becomes a dividing line. He said Einstein had a consciousness of 499, but he couldn't go over 500. He couldn't go into love. He couldn't go into the spirit world. He couldn't accept the ideal that there was a greater world out there than the physical. And so now we're back to that couple I was walking with. How do you prove you love your wife? right? Well, you don't. There's a greater body of knowledge and knowingness that can't be explained through the intellect and through science. And when you accept that, then you're accepting of yourself and love and others. That's the message that comes across.
Mm.
So science fiction is a great way to explore the future, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to give us a projection of what happens when you look down that road, and what
Mm.
road is that road that we're on, right?
Mm. Mm.
The problem we have in today's society, we've all seen this road a million times. Societies and countries rise and fall, and like at some point somebody's got to say, hey, you know what, no more falling, right? Let's let's go ahead and initiate an expansion of our knowledge, not a
Mm.
restriction of it.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So
Yeah, and it seems like there are films that do that soft disclosure of either soft disclosure and or dropping themes of what our true capacities are as individuals and as a collectives to expand people's ideas for the better. Um, yeah.
yeah, that's why I find fascinating. Say about 8 to 12. Sometimes you can get straight answers about the universe from children of that age. Uh, my granddaughter, they brought her to see me in DC when she was 2 years old. Okay. And then the next time they brought her, or next time I saw her, she was 9 years old. And uh, I said, well, why don't you come back to DC? And she goes, well, it's been, and I can't remember what the number was, 571 days since I was there. And I was like, so I had to go and look at the dates she was there, and it was absolutely true, right? Now, where did that number come from? Okay. Absolutely knew the truth of it. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
So, so that's what we're dealing with, is that there has been and is being breakthroughs in consciousness where people are coming more to a state of knowingness, as opposed to believe in whatever, there's atoms or electrons floating around. I
Mm.
love that. So,
Mm. Mm.
like I say, unless they're addressing life force, I'm not interested, because nobody's ever answered that. And I've been working on it for 50 years.
Mm.
I have it, you have it, what it is, where it comes from, why does it exist, right?
Mm.
I've
Mm.
answered a lot of those questions, but there are not many people you can have the conversation with.
Mm. 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 Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, and it seems like there is somewhat of a quiet, but it's there, this rise in um naming bioelectricity, like naming that, not pretending it's not there, not pretending humans aren't electrical. So it's like, oh, that's heartening to read. Like I've read maybe 2 books in the past year where there's a little bit more of that synthesis. But of course, none of that is new. And we know that there's been ongoing research, not only in the past few centuries, but, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Can you
yeah,
walk us through, like, even in the past couple of 100 years or whatever scope you choose, where there's been that research and evidence of electromagnetism, evidence of life force energy, evidence of frequency, and what did we discover?
yeah. Um, I give an example. I um, I got invited to a party, and it was all medical doctors. And this is, golly, 20 years ago. And they asked me what I did. And you know, five or six of them standing around. I go, energy medicine, right? I'm a doctor. And oh, they went crazy, right? Folded their arms, and here we go. And this guy comes up, and uh, he just started talking like, hey, I was riding my bicycle and fell off, and yesterday, and I'm banged up and in pain and all these things. And I thought that was providential or whatever,
Mm.
because I turned to one of the doctor and I said, that guy is in pain right next to me and you, right in between. What would you do to treat him? And he goes, well, I'd, take x-rays and right. And I said, no, the guy's in pain right now. What would you do? He goes, well, there's not much without knowing. I go, watch this. And I tapped the guy on the shoulder, and he immediately straightened up and goes, wow, all the pain went away. And I go, that's what I would do. And they hate me, right? I can't do what doctors do, but they sure in the hell can't do what I do. And so if we look at society that way, all you had was recourse to their side. They can't explain this side. They can't operate in it. They don't have the training in it. It's a whole different program. And I'm alive today, which shocks the doctors. I had to fire a few because I just needed to get out of the hospital before they killed me, so I could redo myself, recreate my own health and well-being, and recreate my body. And it's just fortunate I've spent 50 years learning how to do that. Remember the life force thing. If you have
Mm.
a life force, man, you're set. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
And so that's what I do when I work on a person. I reset them to have full life force. And
Mm.
and it's an amazing thing to watch. Like I said, pain goes away like that, you know. So and
Yeah.
other things. So
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
so I was selfish. I did it for myself. I learned to be able to fix myself out of all this, and I think that's what all people should do, is learn to fix themselves.
Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I mean, big pharma, the medical establishment, the way that scientists and physicians are trained. What's in the way of innovation in this space? And what's in the way of integrating energy into these spaces and frequency technology?
Oh, and I've tried to work with. Uh, I've talked to big corporations. I've offered to provide them insights, just all kinds of things, and it's like they're just not interested. It's kind of like what they're doing is working for them. They don't question the outcome or the advancement of that to any great degree. But I use the example of Apple. If you have an iPhone 16, they already have a 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, and 22, and 3. Let's see where they're at. They're on iPhone 24. And here we are, they're selling us iPhone 17. Why? Because they have to exhaust that model and suck all the money out of it. Otherwise, they jump the shark and they lose six model lines of money, and they're not going to do that. And so the same thing, they give you a medication or give you something that is this efficient, but they already have the next level, next level, next level. And so they call it disruptive technology or innovation. And boy, that'll get you killed. So, I mean, I worked on some zero energy devices, which they absolutely denied exist. I've worked with two or three different scientists that have developed them. And people say, well, why don't they bring them out? And I go, well, normally they kill anybody that develops one, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, they prove that it doesn't work, even though you can sit there and watch the dang thing work.
Yeah.
And number three, it would take a few $1 billion to put in a factory to develop them and spit them out like we do cars or washing machines. And so all these people come to me and go, well, you know about these. Absolutely. I helped develop some of them. And I go, well, why don't you? And I go, okay, write me a check. I
Yeah.
need 500 million for the plant. I need, 600 million, 700 million for tooling. And if you don't believe all that, just ask Elon Musk. He said, I want to build an electric car. I only need a $500 million plant, which he got from Toshiba or somebody in San Francisco. And then I need another 500 million for people to invest, and I'll buy the equipment. And that's the reason we have Tesla cars. Now, everybody goes, why don't we have 0 point energy or unlimited energy? Well, nobody put them two things together. I used
Yeah.
to build big plants like that for General Motors and different companies, and it's astounding the amount of money involved, and all the people that have the idea of like we could do better. Yes, with billions of dollars. So, so that's the problem with technology is that, it requires a huge investment and what we
Yeah.
call both what we call downrange and uprange. Suppliers, materials. Um, you can just look at Tesla and Apple both and see their resourcing of rare metals and I mean on and on and on. And again, the technological, what I call information density, um, and scientific processes involved in everything to produce a phone or a car is in foundation series. Maybe that will start deteriorating where we're not able to do that anymore. And all
Mm.
it takes is one, what we call catastrophe or war, and all of a sudden we lose all kinds of technological advantages that we have maybe now. And now
Mm.
we lose the impetus, we lose the inertia of moving towards iPhone 24. You see what I mean? So,
Mm.
uh,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
so
Mm.
that's why you don't get better drugs. That's why you don't get AI type computers on your laptop right now. They've had them for like 9 years at that level. They're not going to turn them loose because now we'd throw away, 10 years of sucking money out through inferior products. Not to mention Ford and Chevrolet in the 70s and 80s, but anyway.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So if you step back, you can see all this.
Yeah.
Okay. Most
Yeah.
people don't. Most people don't look. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
it really is like without even going deep into it, it's like economic and political will. And if it doesn't lean in that
yeah,
direction,
yeah, yeah. You can have all the brilliant ideas in the universe, but if you don't have support, it's very hard to affect those changes. Okay.
mm, mm, yeah.
Now, electronically, it's not because everybody can play on their computer at the current level.
Mm,
But and so you're creating information. Well, information is saleable now.
mm,
40 years ago, it wasn't. Like
mm,
who the heck cared what kind of soap you bought or clothes you bought or anything? And somebody went, I can sell that. And that's why we get all the ads and stuff. So, and people get rich doing it. So,
mm,
we
mm,
call that, I call that a standard evolution from anything going on. So, there are evolutionary processes that are just making their way into our world, into our consciousness.
mm,
And, but the majority of them are evolving along the science side. And on the other side is what I call us. There's this whole other world, the universe, the entire universe, present in that, developing that second foundation, that foundational consciousness.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah.
So we're the forerunners of that.
Mm, mm. Yeah. What are the safe ways to speed that up or to bring more people along and accelerate that?
Well, it's not consensus.
Mm.
It's more like, I have a brilliant idea. Do you want to join in? Do you see what I mean? It's like you don't have to be a true believer, but you have to be curious enough to
Curious.
find out if what we're doing is going to do something.
Yeah.
And so the old language, there's proof in the pudding or something. In other words, yeah, it's you got to do something with it. Yeah, so many people are trapped in thought. Uh,
Yeah, they're living here up.
yeah, trapped in thought. TIT. You can make of that what you will, but so, and they're trapped. They can't go beyond it. They can't see anything. Their consciousness goes blank. So um, there's no extension. There's no impetus. There's no inertia. There's no initiation. We can go through all the I's involved in that. I had a whole list of them one day. So of things that were required. So that's where we're at. Like doing these videos, you find people that resonate. Now we're back to frequency and vibration stuff. And if they resonate with it, then it causes them to be more expansive and also to agitate their own environments, which may initiate conversations with others. And that's how it expands. Um, I did an interview the other night, and there's like 30,000 people have seen it. And I
Mm.
was like, what were those people doing? Because I get calls from all over the world from and and to me it's like, well, there's 30,000 people that now know a little more about maybe how this stuff works, right?
Mm. Mm.
And so that is causing the future
Yeah.
or contributing to it, and that's what I'm doing talking to you. I'm trying to contribute to a future
Mm.
that is we would say a little more benign than the one that they've got planned. Okay,
Mm.
they have the big barbecue in the sky planned is what I call it. you know who in their right mind can even say nuclear weapons? You see what I mean? It's like that type of insanity is way beyond a case of beer. So
Mm.
so
Absolutely.
so that's how we offset it. The interesting thing in the foundation series is the second foundation, the one that was psychological as opposed to technological, prevailed. Okay,
Mm. Mm.
so we have hopes that that consciousness will prevail over all this.
Mm. 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 Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And you know what? I see glimmers of it everywhere of people making different choices, like even generations who are choosing to join running clubs instead of going out drinking or
yeah,
I heard that there's some dating app that's going to start introducing a whole interface about self-love and
mm,
encourage that before people start dating. I was like, okay,
yeah,
there's all these little micro changes that are quite grounded, but indicative of some kind of shift.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, people are more inclined to talk about football than they are to talk about this. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that audience is well served. There's, leagues and promotions and advertising and all these things that promote that level of consciousness and involvement in life. And us not so much. I don't have $1 million sponsors for what we're saying here, you know. I don't have the little stickers like the race car drivers of F1 have. Uh, it's just like one day maybe that'll come, right?
Mm.
But if you sit at the bar and have a conversation about the hockey team or football team or whoever, you can have that conversation with damn near anybody.
Mm.
And as soon as you want to drop into quantum physics and consciousness, it's like everybody want to run for the door.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And why? Because you need to involve yourself in a very simple concept of what does it mean to be alive? What is life force? So we're back to that question. And if you go down that road now, you're going to be busy for years and years and years. So
Mm. 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 You know, as you were saying this, it just reminded me I was at an event. It was at a university, I think. And I was sitting next to this guy who was a quantum physicist. So I was like, great, this will be awesome. So I was
yeah.
chatting to him and he's like, I don't know about those things. I don't. And I was like, but isn't that what you do? And we're having this discussion, and he's like, "Oh, you seem to know about this stuff." And I was like, "Well, mate, I'm not a scientist. Like, I'm just telling you, like this is my passion area. I've studied a few different things." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know much about that." And then they shush everyone, and then they announce the award winner person, and it's him.
Yeah. I, I love to, I have a problem, and that is quantum physicists and Nobel winners. And they bring them through lecture tours, and I'm right there. I got a few questions, and invariably they don't want to talk to me. So, because I enjoy trying to find out what they know and what they don't, you know. And it, I've taken a few pictures with me with various ones, right? But the majority of them don't want to talk about any of this. You know, they're on the science side, they're on the technology side, you know.
Mm,
So, so anyway, I've gotten into it with several of them, meaning conversations that didn't go anywhere, Michio Maku and several others that are very high level, and they're not prepared to have this conversation, right? Uh, they're extremely intelligent on the area they're in, but it doesn't include what we're talking about and what we talked about. They try. Some of them are trying now. They're trying to be an expert in this area, but they don't have any training in it. So
mm,
another example is at one university, I got asked to lecture, and there were like a couple hundred people there, and I gave a 3-hour lecture on some of this, and I went to the other university in the state that where I'd gone to school and said I want to do that lecture, and they go no. We don't want that talking about on. And now this is a whole university that doesn't want me speaking about the things we're talking about. And yet here's another university and they're like, oh yeah, you come here. We want to talk to you. We want to promote it. We want to do all these things. And so I find that fascinating. So
mm, 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 mm. Yeah, it's interesting. Similarly, in lots of institutions, right, like hospitals and whatever. But it is encouraging to know that there are spots within those
yeah, yeah,
institutions where there's really awesome, innovative people that are open to
yeah,
creating those dialogues and those platforms and those
yeah.
knowledge exchanges. So
And those are the people I want to talk to.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the ones that are denigrating whatever craziness we've gotten off into, but it's read Secret Life of Plants. Peter Tompkins and Marcel Vogel started talking about plants have feelings in 1971, and the science establishment went nuts. They absolutely denied that was true. They made fun of it. They tried to uh, debunk any idea that plants had emotions or feelings or sensory apparatus, which is non-physical. It's back into the zero reality. And yet they proved all that. Rupert Sheldrake comes along and shows the same thing with animals. It's like there is science on our side, but it's not the technological science that's on the other side that the world is extremely glued to. Okay. So more and more of us, more and more people. I was looking the other day and uh, I realized that almost 3 million people have seen my videos. So, and it,
Wow.
and I'm like, well, there's 9 billion people on the planet, and I'd like a few more to see them. So thank you for being able to at least get information out that cause people to think and maybe move in the right direction. How's that? So
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh no, thank you. Look, it's just all about exploring ideas, planting new seeds of possibility, and how can
Mhm.
we all positively expand. Any parting thoughts before we wrap up today?
There is no greater fun and enjoyment and all those other things than being yourself. That's it. And we call that a starting place. And you were there before you were 5 years old, and then you lost yourself. That's basically everybody. And if you can start doing anything to pay attention to yourself and improve yourself, you start expanding your base, you start expanding your stability, you start what we call making a place for yourself in the universe.
Mm,
And that to me is exactly what I'm doing. And that's what I do when I work with people. And then we want to see how that works. So the language I learned was very simple. In your strength, our future lies. All right. Not just mine. And so I want everybody to be strong. I want them to be stronger than me, right? Because that's our future. Not weakness, not insanity and craziness, right? So
mm,
that's the idea I have. In your strength, our future lies. You can write it down.
mm,
So if people act on that, they will find a way to move forward and
mm,
improve. Okay.
mm, mm. Thank you so much, Randy. So much
Okay.
appreciation for all that you do and be in the world, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.
Oh yeah, let's do another one. Come up with more questions. I love it. All right. And hello to all the people of Australia and the world. All right. So, okay. Love you, girl. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You take care.